Is keeping Jrue Holiday truly worth it for the Boston Celtics at this point? That's the uncomfortable question lurking behind Bill Simmons' latest bold trade proposal, and it might be the most brutal truth the Celtics front office has to face right now. Holiday is a proven winner, a two-time NBA champion, an all-defensive team staple, and a crucial component of Boston's 2024 championship run. His leadership, defensive IQ, and ability to make winning plays in the clutch are not just bonuses. They are the foundation of a title-caliber roster. But what happens when the title window abruptly slams shut? With Jayson Tatum likely sidelined for the entire 2025-26 season due to a devastating Achilles injury, the Celtics are suddenly facing a year without their superstar. And with that, the harsh reality that they are no longer serious contenders in the short term. In that context, Holiday's presence on a high-cost contract becomes less about value and more about luxury, a luxury the Celtics can no longer afford. Bill Simmons' logic cuts deep. Why commit to paying $500 million in total team cost when the best-case scenario is likely a second-round exit? According to Spotrac, the Celtics are $73 million over the cap, $32 million beyond the first apron, and $20 million past the second apron. Once the repeat offender penalties are added, the result is a financial tsunami, one that no team, not even a recent champion, can ignore. Simmons argues that Holiday, despite his value, is simply a logical sacrifice in a moment that demands strategic austerity. But this isn't just about saving money. It's about gaining flexibility, regaining breathing room under the crushing weight of the new collective bargaining agreement. By moving Holiday now, the Celtics wouldn't just offload salary. They'd gain younger assets, draft capital, and a clearer runway to rebuild around Tatum in 2026-27, when he returns healthy, and the team can once again aim high, but this time with smarter financial footing. There's also a brutal competitive angle here. With Tatum gone, Holiday's elite on-ball defense and late-game poise may go to waste. What's the point of locking down opposing superstars if your own offense is missing its cornerstone? Without Tatum, Boston lacks the firepower to maximize Holiday's skill set. In a season where true contention is off the table, holding on to Holiday could be the basketball equivalent of spinning your tires in the mud. Expensive effort without movement. Still, parting with Holiday would be emotionally difficult. He's beloved in the locker room, respected across the league, and the kind of veteran you build around, not ship out. But Simmons challenges that sentiment with a cold dose of realism. If the Celtics aren't contenders, then you don't need Jrue Holiday. You need the flexibility to become contenders again. Holiday for VanVleet. Leadership swap or step down in standards. On the surface, the proposed Jrue Holiday-Fred VanVleet swap seems like a fair exchange. Two championship-winning point guards, both known for their leadership, toughness, and poise in high-stakes moments. But peel back the layers, and the deal raises deeper, more uncomfortable questions. Are the Celtics truly exchanging equals here, or are they downgrading in the name of financial survival? Fred VanVleet is no slouch. A key piece in Toronto's 2019 championship, he's respected around the league for his high basketball IQ, fearless attitude, and locker room presence. He's vocal, scrappy, and battle-tested, a classic underdog who's earned his place through grit and determination. His contract is more team-friendly than Holiday's, and that alone makes him a more manageable asset under the harsh realities of the second apron tax penalties. But can VanVleet replace what Jrue Holiday brought to Boston? That's where the debate intensifies. Holiday isn't just a leader, he's a tone setter. He brings a calm, unshakable presence in the storm of postseason chaos. He defends multiple positions at an elite level. He takes on the opposing team's toughest assignment every night and still makes the right reads on offense. And most importantly, he's consistently shown up in clutch moments, the kind that define legacies. VanVleet may be a leader, but Holiday is a cornerstone. There's also the question of fit. Holiday's defensive versatility made him an ideal complement to Boston's core. He could guard 1 through 3, switch seamlessly, and erase breakdowns. VanVleet, though feisty and aggressive, lacks the physical tools to replicate that. at 6-0. He can be targeted in mismatches, especially in playoff series where opponents exploit every inch of weakness. For a team built on defensive identity, this matters. Then there's the intangible factor, the quiet confidence Jrue carries. Teammates trust him, coaches lean on him, opponents respect him. His impact can't always be captured in box scores, but it's felt in the biggest moments, when the game tightens and decisions make or break seasons. VanVleet is tough, no doubt, but can he command the same level of confidence in a team trying to stay afloat without Jayson Tatum? Bill Simmons makes a pragmatic case. With the Celtics no longer in position to contend immediately, cutting costs and staying flexible must take precedence. VanVleet, on a lighter deal, gives Boston breathing room under the cap while still keeping a veteran presence at point guard. But pragmatism isn't passion, and basketball isn't just about balancing spreadsheets. How do you justify trading the reigning Finals MVP, the emotional engine of your championship run, and the face of resilience in Boston? Jaylen Brown isn't just a star, he's a symbol. He carried the Celtics through the warpath of the 2024 playoffs. Outshining the biggest names on the biggest stage, he earned the Finals MVP with grit, versatility, and unmatched defensive intensity, all while being the spiritual counterweight to Jayson Tatum's finesse. His extension, the richest contract in NBA history at the time, wasn't just a reward, it was a statement. Jaylen Brown was the plan. But now, with Jayson Tatum sidelined for the entire 2025-26 season due to a devastating Achilles injury, that plan may no longer hold water. And Bill Simmons didn't hesitate to say it out loud. If the Celtics aren't realistically competing for a title, what's the point of keeping Brown and his colossal contract in the fold? It's a jarring idea, no doubt. Trading Brown would send shockwaves through Boston and beyond. But as Simmons argues, this might be the one moment when Brown's value is maximized. He's coming off a championship, a Finals MVP, and is at the peak of his perception league-wide. Teams would line up to land a two-way all-star in his prime. And in this hypothetical deal, Boston would get back Fred VanVleet, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason, and a top 10 pick in the 2025 draft. That's not a salary dump. That's a strategic reshuffling. This would be the kind of move that defines eras. It's not about giving up, it's about recalibrating. Imagine the logic. Offload $304 million from the books, dodge the crippling second apron penalties, and start reloading for 2026-27, when Tatum is expected to return. Instead of clinging to a damaged contender, Brad Stevens would be building a new timeline, a younger, leaner roster with upside, flexibility, and cap space, centered around a fully healthy Tatum. But here's the emotional weight. Jaylen Brown earned that contract. He stayed when others would have bailed. He's the guy who never blinked when things got tough. Trading him now would feel like betrayal, not just to him, but to a fan base that watched him grow into a leader. Can Boston afford to sever that bond? And what about locker room dynamics? Brown has grown into a vocal presence, a unifying force. His connection with Tatum, while complex at times, has been the foundation of this team's identity. Would moving him create a void that future picks and prospects can't fill? Still, Simmons' argument isn't without merit. The NBA's new financial restrictions are unforgiving. Once you're over the second apron, flexibility evaporates. You can't sign buyout players, you lose access to mid-level exceptions. Trades become harder. Draft picks can be frozen. It's not just about money, it's about being shackled. The Celtics are staring down a $500 million total cost for a team that, without Tatum, won't contend. In that context, trading Jaylen Brown becomes a cold-blooded chess move. Painful, yes, but potentially brilliant. You buy yourself a reset, not a rebuild. You bet on Tatum's return. You reload instead of treading water. The end of Tatum and Brown, or the dawn of a new era in Boston? Is it time to break up one of the most successful duos in modern Celtics history? That's the uncomfortable, gut-wrenching question at the heart of Bill Simmons' bold proposal. And it's not just about salary caps and second aprons. It's about legacy, identity, and the courage to make a seismic shift before it's too late. Since 2017, the tandem of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown has carried Boston through every kind of war. Together, they reached multiple Eastern Conference Finals, a heart-crushing NBA Finals loss in 2022, and ultimately climbed the mountain with the 2024 championship. They were battle-tested, complementary in skill sets, and deeply embedded in the team's culture. Tatum, the transcendent scorer; Brown, the relentless two-way engine. Fans believed this duo would be the foundation of a dynasty, but now the narrative has cracked. Tatum's devastating Achilles injury has sidelined him for the entirety of the 2025-26 season, and suddenly, everything feels unstable. Add to that the suffocating weight of the NBA's new collective bargaining rules, especially the brutal financial penalties of crossing the second apron, and the Celtics are now a team paying the price of success in more ways than one. With over $227 million committed in salaries and a projected $500 million in total team costs, Boston is flirting with financial paralysis. This isn't just a cap crunch, it's a full-on economic crisis. So here's the dilemma. Do you keep Brown, who just signed the richest deal in NBA history and represents everything Celtics fans love about toughness, loyalty, and growth? Or do you tear off the emotional band-aid and accept that keeping this core intact without Tatum is a strategic dead end? Simmons is pushing for the latter, and while it may sound ruthless, it might also be the first truly pragmatic idea on the odds table. In his vision, the Celtics don't drift through a wasted year. They don't cling to nostalgia or sentiment. They pivot, hard and fast. They move Brown at his absolute peak value for a haul that includes a top 10 draft pick, 2 high-upside young forwards in Jabari Smith Jr. and Tari Eason, and a seasoned point guard in Fred VanVleet. It's not a rebuild. It's a retooling on a compressed timeline. The goal? To rise again in 2026-27, with Tatum fully healthy, surrounded by talent that's cheaper, younger, and more sustainable under the league's harsh new economic environment. But let's not pretend this move would be easy to swallow. For nearly a decade, Tatum and Brown have been synonymous with the Celtics' identity. They didn't just wear the jersey, they carried the weight of the franchise. Breaking them up would be a psychological earthquake for the organization, the fan base, and maybe even the league.